Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
We are eternally positive people. I just want to sneak that in there. Just want you to know that.
Are we
Agents of positivity. Well, we battle ourselves. There's no question about it.
What do they say at Barstool? Positive vibes only?
That's right. The big gambling show.
Yeah.
Like this video and subscribe to our channel.
Yep. Check out our podcast also below in the description. Do it now.
I bring up positivity because sometimes it has to be a concerted effort. This is from our buddy Chris Peterman, who tweeted 49ers 2020. Nick Bosa, George Kittle. He's got the injuries next to him, too. Richard Sherman, Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, foot hamstring, Mostert ankle, K'Wan Williams, calf knee, D Ford, back, ACL Solomon Thomas, Jalen Hurd, Jordan Reed, Tevin Coleman. And, I mean, really the list, that doesn't include, like, Ben Garland and Weston Richburg.
I haven't seen Tart in a couple weeks.
Jeff Wilson.
Ayuk missed
Ronald
the first
Blair.
Ayuk missed the first couple games with a hamstring, remember?
Ziggy Ansah.
Yeah, IR. They did lead the league in IR during training camp in those first couple weeks of signing a guy for an injured guy and then that guy immediately getting injured. Like they did that immediately, guy, with 3 or 4 players. It was the one dude, I forget his name, the little guy that was on the Rams and on the Cowboys. They signed Tavon Austin, boom, knee injury.
That's right, yep.
Ziggy was like, they couldn't figure out a contract. Then Bosa went out, they signed him, then boom, it's like Ziggy torn pec out for the year. It's like, holy moly. But you had a tweet, I remember in like the peak of this, like when an agent gets the call, like, hey, we want to sign your guy. You're like, no, we're good. Just still canvassing the league.
That was before the season started, John.
I know. You know what, guy? They didn't even have preseason games. So these injuries were happening in practice. Sometimes you lose a guy right in like week 3 preseason. You're like, oh, shit, that sucks. They didn't even have a preseason game. And they lost guys. They lost multiple players in Jimmy Camp Nashville. Remember that? Deebo broken foot. I guess Ayuk pulled his hammy. But what's his name? Richie James broke his foot. That might have been on his own. But this is the off season before they even came together as a team. It was destined to fail.
It does feel like every
positive
time
vibes
there's
only.
Positive vibes only when there's an injury. You're like, oh no, they can overcome it with this. And then there's a test. Like, you still believe, you idiot? Well, watch this. We're gonna give you another injury. It's like, no. If Mullins plays well and Dwelly gets a few more touches, and then the football god's like, you morons, why won't you give up? Here's another injury, and then they hit you with another one. I'm a little concerned. Like, I hope Kyle doesn't get a stomach bug or something. The football guys are gonna. Then Mike McDaniel's gonna come in and beat the Packers, and Niner fans will still believe. So then we already did a Garoppolo video, but just Kittle out 8 weeks, broken bone in his foot, which means his season could be over. His second injury of the season. I don't know.
Didn't look that bad unless it happened on an earlier play when he made the catch down the sideline. I would not have guessed. I thought he was fine until the referee, out of respect for a great player, you don't often see this for a non-concussion. It's like, hold on, let's get George off the field. Like, it wasn't like, if I would have been Seattle, I'd be like, what are we doing? You got to call a timeout here. You can't just usher a player off the field. But it was like out of respect.
Did you see
everyone was like, no big deal.
The end of the Steelers-Ravens game where one of the Casey Hayward that was down, and they didn't even put any time back on the clock. They
didn't even throw an offsides flag. They're like, no, it's just like, okay, they're rushing down the field. His quad's out. I think when you hit a certain, like, if you're a Pro Bowler, the refs give you like, listen, guys, let's just everyone take a deep breath. Defense is probably tired. They're like, okay, we're cool, bro. Just get him off the field. But when he hobbled off the field, it did kind of feel, for my sitting on the couch, like it was a little out of nowhere. Like, what did he do? It wasn't like he got rolled up on. It didn't look like he got stepped on. And then to find out Monday at about noon that he has a broken foot, like that's just, last I checked, it's pretty hard to do what George Kittle does with a broken foot. So that's a killer, bro. Because at least with Nick Mullins, you'd be like, well, you get Deebo back from a hamstring, Ayuk, Deebo, Kittle. Running backs are kind of limited. Is this the point of diminishing returns? Like, did it officially kind of break today?
The tipping point.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, here's the one. Probably, right? But we thought that a few weeks ago when they got blown out by the Dolphins, and then they roll out and beat the Rams and the Patriots. And the Pats are no great shakes. They're trying to run Belichick out of town in Boston last I checked. But they're bad. But, I mean, the Packers are not as good as I thought they were a few weeks ago. So, I don't know. Let's watch Thursday play out. Are the Niners going to find a way to get to 5-4?
You do agree that it benefits the Niners that you just get a Thursday game, this other team's Thursday game. It's just they do get a little weird. I would be like loss Sunday. I do think Thursday, just who knows? I think it's going to be hard, right? Close your eyes, envisioning Nick Mullins making more plays than Aaron Rodgers, because that's kind of what it takes. Like they would need several touchdowns. As we saw in the Seattle game, you got to score touchdowns. Like that's I watched back on Monday morning some of the. I didn't even watch it, just beside the red zone. Minnesota play Green Bay. Like Dalvin Cook guy scored 4 touchdowns. Like they were scoring points. And in the Seattle game, the Niners just can't score. And I don't count garbage time. I count when the game matters and you're in the game. Like you got it against the Patriots and against the Rams. The Niners just boom, 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 scored. And everyone can take a deep breath. And I just close my eyes, envisioning Mullins. It's a little hard to do. Because, again, the Eagles game is not the garbage time yesterday, Seattle. The Eagles game's in my mind when he starts.
Yeah. Which is fair. I mean, that's a real game where you had to make plays to win, even though you didn't really have to make as many plays as
you just didn't need to throw the ball to the other team. He almost threw a pick yesterday in Seattle. Like he does. Mm-hmm. He gets a little squirrely with his throws.
Squirrely is the right word. Oh, it is. But I will say you can run against the Packers, even though the Niners don't have Dalvin Cook. To me, they're gonna have or
Mostert or Coleman.
They don't.
Or Jeff Wilson.
They don't have.
They're missing a lot of guys.
They don't have the Bucs defense. To me, it's gonna take a weird. You're gonna have to. Do you get a pick 6 on the second possession of the game? Right. Like it's gonna take some. You said it. Thursday nights get weird. Like it's gonna take some weird stuff. But Kyle Shanahan's their quarterback. Their coach? Can this team find a way to win 9 games? Could they win 9 games? They've played 8 now, right? They're 4-4. Could they win 9?
If I gave you the over/under right now, 7.5, what are you taking?
My first
still
reaction.
Got the Cowboys. Still got Washington.
My first reaction is to take the over, just out of a faith in Kyle Shanahan.
They probably could win one more division game. They've won division games with less. To me, 7 feels about right. I think 8-8, given what he's dealing with, would be an incredible accomplishment. It really would. If he were to get to 9, you could argue Coach of the Year, right? Seriously.
Yeah, and even if you said 7, right? So right now they're 4. So they got to win three of these games. You can pick 2. It's hard to pick a third. Green Bay, New Orleans, the Rams again, Buffalo, Washington, Dallas, Arizona, Seattle. It's easy to find. Yeah, yeah. You're right. 8 would be
because your two are the lock East teams. I just think we know that just the NFL is weird, right?
Yeah, DiNucci. Maybe he'll dial in that underhand throw by the time you play the Cowboys Week 15. But again, I just go back to I do think Kyle is extremely high level. I don't see how anything could change my feeling on the Niners having a cornerstone coach, and I don't think anyone's arguing against that anyway. But yes, do they finally get a few things to go their way in games, or is it just going to be? Are we going to look back and go, this year was kind of a wash, which sucks because they've had a few years that have already been washes, right? We already had a Garoppolo injury wash year.
Yeah, to me though, I think those 2 wash years, the first and second year of the Kyle Shanahan tenure, even the Garoppolo wash year, when he tore his ACL, it was clear they probably would have won 6-7 games, not 9-10. This year, I do like it's different than a wash because it's understandable. They just lost. I mean, they had their entire team's in the hospital. And not just like just ingrown toenail, right? It's like broken ankles, torn knees, pecs, broken feet, high ankle sprains that need surgery. And in fairness to Jimmy. Like yesterday, once he re-aggravated, he can't move. And when Jimmy can't move, they can't. Like part of their offense is, and I see it watching Green Bay, I see it watching the Rams. Jimmy is better athlete than Goff, probably older Rodgers. They're about the same. Like his movement is part of like the nakeds and the nudes, as Coughlin would say. You can't even do that shit. Like they are. That's where I was texting with a couple people, and they're like, "Season's over." I'm like, guys. The Jimmy that I was watching play yesterday, they were never going to win a game with that version. So if he's always banged up, like the season was over with injured Jimmy. Now, healthy Jimmy is better than Mullins. But Jimmy at like 70%, can't we just come to grips with that's a bad player for Kyle because he can't run his offense. At least Mullins, you can run plays. And I think we've seen twice now when they brought in CJ and when they brought in Mullins, for this 50 to 70% Jimmy, the offense looks dramatically better because he can just call more normal plays, right?
Jimmy can't complete the bait. He can't complete. And Schlereth, to his credit during the game, he's like, look, this is a throw. He should be driving off his back foot. He's throwing it off his front foot. So, and there repeatedly were throws like that. So, yeah, 70%. It didn't feel like we were watching a guy at 70% by the end of that thing.
Okay, let's go rewind start of last year. If I went Guy, if you were Kyle Shanahan, I'd say, listen, I'm a football god, and I got the power of your next 2 years. This year, you get to go. You can either just take your chances from here on out, just see what goes, or I can guarantee you go 13-3, you win the NFC. You're going to lose a tough game in the Super Bowl, but it's to a legendary player and Andy. It's not going to be that bad. It's going to be a positive on your resume as time goes on. But the next year, I'm going to take out your entire suite players and put them all on injured reserve. Would you have signed up for that? Or would you just say, let it play out? Guarantee, I guess, you're going to win the NFC.
I mean, if I were him, I would have looked at my team and be like, I don't think I need your help, football gods. And spit in their face. And then they screw you in 2020 anyway, out of spite. You know, but I understand what you're asking. Is it, if you're going to go to a Super Bowl, does it make it easier to stomach a year like this? And on one hand, I'd say it would have helped a lot if you'd won it. Yeah. The other thing is, I love when fans argue about, you know, like we see it in the Bay Area a lot where we are, Giants fans and A's fans, right? They argue about, well, the Giants won 3 in 5 years, but the A's have more. And it's like, yeah, but like they were, most of them were in the early 70s.
It's 2020.
You know? But like last year's championship doesn't matter. Forget about the 130 years, right? Arguing about who won last year is irrelevant. Who's winning right now? That's the only thing that really matters. And they didn't win it last year. So it does make this one a little harder to take. And I think the example, like look at what's played out with the Rams. You know, would the Rams, given would the Rams want it to have everything that's happened since they went to the Super Bowl? I don't know if that's been worth the Super Bowl run. Like they're
9-7 now. They're 5-3, right? So they're 14-10 in their last 2 years.
And you're right. To be fair, they're 5-3 now. It feels
they're headed back. Like they're probably headed to the playoffs. You know.
Yeah. Well, okay. You're right.
So I guess I felt three playoff bursts, 4 years, not bad.
That's fantastic. Yeah, you would just take that whole resume and say
Kyle's going to have one playoff berth more than likely in 4 years.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Now, just watching the Rams, like they have not dealt like the injuries. The Niners, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Now, Eagles fans would raise their hand. I think there'd probably be some validity there. The difference is like the Niners aren't just losing the older players like Alshon and Deshaun. Like they're losing their younger players. Now, I think the Eagles we lost Andre Dillard. I think there are a lot of parallels. Now, I would take like the Eagles got their division sucks, but they haven't lost their quarterback the last 2 years. Right? Well, Carson played 16 games last year, and he's healthy now.
And the year they won the Super Bowl, so.
Yeah, and they won a Super Bowl. So it's all been worth it. So they're going to make the playoffs now. Super Bowl year, then that year they beat the Bears. They missed last year. No, they made the playoff. They're going to make it probably 4 straight years. Now, it's the last 2 years, like, well, you went 8-8. You know, this year you might go 7-8. Who cares? Right? I mean, I'm a believer, like, if you go under 500 – and you win the division, that division shouldn't be automatically. But that's just the rules we're dealing with now. You win the division, you go to the playoffs.
I got no issue with it. We don't need to overcomplicate it.
Yeah. So the Niners are going to have to, because now they're not going to be favoring any of these games, right? They're an underdog this week. They'll be an underdog against the Saints. They'll be an underdog against the Rams.
Right
I think when it opened up in the air with Jimmy, they were like +2.
I was just looking at it. It wasn't posted where I looked, but
I'd guess by kickoff it's +6. Right? What do you think?
Yeah.
Kind of like the Niners.
All right. Well.
Godspeed, Kyle.
Keep it together, everybody.